Good afternoon, everybody. It's the 19th of June. Yes, the temperatures are not going to be in the 90s the rest of the week, but we're going to get some rain on and off. Going to be in the mid to high 70s. Welcome to Weber this week. My pal Katie MacIntyre, 261 Fearless. She even gave me a medal to wear just for temporary for the show, folks. Don't get carried away. I won't be taking this home. Katie will make sure of that. But Katie MacIntyre is my special guest this afternoon. See, I still think about morning because I did the show for so many years at 9:30. But it is a little after 3 o'clock. We welcome you to the show and hope you all had a great weekend. And I hope all you dads out there, belated Happy Father's Day to all of you. I would send out kudos to my daughter. She every year invites me up, along with Mary, obviously. We go up there, and she has a nice little steak cookout and a couple of drinks, and it's just a fun time. She even has the pool, which was great yesterday. I couldn't wait to dive into that thing. And so my daughter, Sam, if she's checking me out today or any of her friends are, my daughter did a great job, and I sent her a text reminder of that today. Well, Katie joins us this afternoon. Katie, thanks for coming back. It's always good to have you back.
It's good to be here.
It's always good, and this medal is outstanding. Let me. Why don't you explain to our viewers while I hold the medal up for Jimmy to pick up? Give an explanation of where this medal, how you got this thing. Nice.
Sure. So that is a medal from the 121st Boston Marathon, and has a really nice unicorn on it. And that's the medal that one of the volunteers put around my neck when I crossed the finish line about 2 months ago.
That's awesome. Now the anticipation, of course, of the Boston Marathon, you came on the show, you and Mensa talking about it, and the anticipation, you were working hard at getting yourself ready as you could be, mentally and physically. How was the anticipation the night before the marathon? Did you toss and turn in bed? Did you a little bit nervous, a little bit of anxiety? How did that all turn out?
So I actually slept the night before,
wow.
But I was in Boston for a few days leading up to the marathon and lots of things going on. So I didn't have much time to worry. There was just a lot of excitement with all of our ambassadors there with Catherine Switzer. So 120 of us from 20 countries.
Wow.
And we had a lot of activities. I mean, Catherine threw out the first pitch at the Red Sox game on Sunday.
That's great.
And we had the Boston movie premiere on Saturday night. So there were lots of things going on, and I was in town from Friday through Tuesday.
So was it as great as an experience that you thought it would be leading up to it?
It was more amazing and a heck of a lot harder. So it exceeded my expectations on many levels.
All right, so you line up. Let me do the play-by-play of this. You line up for the start of the Boston Marathon, butterflies and the race, and the gun goes off, and off you go. Let me ask you...
so can I back you up
for
a second?
Go ahead.
Right, so the crazy thing about Boston... Well, not so crazy, I guess, but the thing about Boston is, of course, security is very, very high.
Sure, right.
So we were up at 4:30. We caught buses in Boston, the city itself. We took buses out to Hopkinton at 5 a.m. And then our corral, because we had charity bibs, we weren't the elite runners.
Right.
We were in the last wave to run. We didn't run until 11 o'clock.
Okay.
So we got to Hopkinton, and they had arranged for us to hang out in this private house that was an engineering firm. With another team from Hawaii. So we were there for hours.
Wow.
So we had breakfast there, and we did lots of tattoos, like the tattoo I gave you.
That's
and
right.
we did interviews and, just got to know our teammates a little bit more, lots of stretching and hydrating. And then we started to walk to our corral at about 10:45. And it was pretty cool because I saw some friends from Seneca Falls while I was doing
Really?
that. So we were walking, we went out the backyard of this house in Hopkinton. The front yard's right at the start line where all the runners are getting into their corrals to start. But we went out the back, and Catherine Switzer realized that we were actually at the church that she parked at in 1967. She's like, oh my gosh, that's the church. So we walked by the church, and we turned to go down a side street to get into the corral. So there's 1,000 runners in each corral. So you go through security, they want everyone, and they line up. And I happened to meet, from the Dana-Farber team, Kathy Troisi and also Dr. Aleska from here, who were running for Dana-Farber.
Wow.
So we got to see them and some friendly faces, and that was really, really nice. And then we were all in the same wave together.
So when the race began and you started your competition, how did it feel? I mean, obviously it was exciting to be a part of it.
Yeah, it was hot. It was really hot. It was in the 70s already, which for April in Boston's pretty warm.
Yeah.
And I mean, everyone was so packed. So the way it starts in Hopkinton, like New England streets, it's kind of paved and then it's like sandy. There's no
Right.
real shoulder or anything. And we were pretty tight in and started running. And then, as you run, things kind of loosen up. People spread
separate.
out a little. But I had met a new friend who lives really close to where my mom lives outside of Boston. And so she and I were running together. And you get to about mile 2 and there's lots of men peeing in the woods. So they jump back in and they jump over the guardrail. Well, this man jumped in and he bumped my friend Kim, and she ended up twisting her ankle.
Oh, my God.
And she went down. So I was like, run her down! And so I stopped all these people behind me because they would have
Run
just
over.
stampeded her because we
Wow.
were so tight at that point.
Oh, my
So
God.
I was able to at least stop them so they would go around me
Oh, my
and we
God.
could get her up. But she ran the whole marathon, and then she went to the medical tent and got some attention to her knee at the end. But she was not letting that deter her.
That's
but that was
amazing.
kind of the excitement at the beginning.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but you never know what's going to happen. So I
Yeah.
think it's just, for me, it was my first marathon.
Sure.
But I've run other races where stuff happens, and you
Yeah.
know, a little bit of MacGyver, and you figure it out.
Well, this is pretty nice. She brought in a nice little 261 Fearless, and of course a temporary good old tattoo. Kind of neat. So thank you for those nice gifts. And I got to tell you though, okay, so the race is underway. You had that issue. You dealt with it. Run her down. I like that. Making sure they stopped. When you reached the end, obviously jubilation. You made it. You got through it.
Yeah.
It had to be spectacular in your own mind.
Yeah, and I burst into tears.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was just, the finish, there's people have T-shirts that say, right on Hereford, left on Boylston. That's the home stretch. You get onto Boylston, and the crowds are just really, really cheering, and there's jumbotrons, and just the crowds are amazing in Boston. I think they said 600,000 spectators
my
this
God.
year, and so everybody comes out, and they're cheering for you. And someone had given us a tip to make sure we wrote our names on our arms, and people were go Katie, you got this, girl, go Katie. So we all made sure that our names were visible, and people were cheering. They were awesome.
And after the race, your legs were a little weary, I'm sure. A little bit.
Yeah. I finished with a friend, another ambassador from Texas named Charlotte. So she and I finished. We ran into another friend from North Carolina. Lots of hugs and water. And, you don't think you'd be hot, but they give you this blanket that feels really good when you finish. So this is my Boston Marathon blanket, kind of like a space blanket. But so I had this wrapped around me, and they give you a goodie bag with food and drinks, and it was good.
It's great.
You want to see that?
Yeah, hold it up so Jimmy can take a shot of it. There you go. There you go.
So, other marathoners have seen these for sure, but for people that haven't run a race and finished it, it's like a space blanket. It's silver on one side, and
Wow.
yeah.
So you brought all kinds of goodies today.
I did. I brought my bib to show you because it's kind of mangled.
Oh, show that. Yeah, we want to get a picture of that.
So.
Katie MacIntyre, my special guest. We're talking Boston Marathon. And is it safe to say you will return to the Boston Marathon? Or
I don't know if
not
I
sure?
will.
Okay, just curious.
I have some half marathons planned.
Okay.
I don't know if I will return for Boston. It won't be next year.
Okay, yeah. It is amazing that the crowd size and how many runners did they have in totality?
Over 30,000.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that kind of energy, it's amazing. So I ran my first big race like that in Washington, D.C. I ran the Army 10 miler in 2011, and that was 30,000 people. It sells out like a rock concert. Like you have to go on and get your spot because it will sell out. And it was 90 degrees that day. It was hot. But I ran with a friend who now has since run lots of half marathons and lots of marathons, and she had never run before. And I'm like, come on, you got to do this with me. And now she's totally hooked, and she's a runner. So it happens. It's really contagious. Be careful, dog.
I know, it's
gonna be
scary.
running.
It's scary, yeah. Yeah, Jimmy's going to definitely shoot some video on that. That'll go off live on this network, trust me. Katie MacIntyre is my special guest. Of course, we're talking about the Boston Marathon. Katie, let's switch subjects for a few minutes. We'll go back to the marathon in a minute. Of course, the great race in May that you put together that obviously was another success. Give us your overview on how it went and the Right to Run, and tell us a little bit about that event and how your reflections on it after it completed for your second year.
Sure. So this it feels like a lifetime ago already, although it's only been a month.
Right.
But I think one of my favorite things was really just seeing all of the excitement with the girls on the run. And, Jim's daughter was part of that. But we had, I think it's just so neat to see people inspired by other people's stories. And, of course, Catherine's story and all that she shared. But then one of my favorite moments was really when Marv and Iva Lay, who are a couple from Seneca Falls in their 80s, and they finished first in their age group, and they got awards for the 5K. And I ran into them this weekend, and it was nice to be able to congratulate them in person. I thought that was pretty cool.
As far as the total number that took off on the race, were you happy with the number? Are you trying to get larger numbers, or where does it stand for numbers going overseas?
No, so we always want more.
Right.
But we had just about 900 for this year. So it was a little bit lower than last year, but the weather's been tough. I mean, even if you're driving around the area, you look at how tall the corn is, and you can tell that, like, it was so rainy and so cold, and they even, there's no way it's going to be knee-high by the 4th of July. It was the same thing like the week leading up to the race, and Jim and I talked a lot about weather and trying to make sure that, we had tents in case we needed them, in case it was a downpour, to protect the equipment and stuff. But it was cold, and I think people waited to sign up, and some people like to run when it's just their ideal weather.
Well, I've known Katie MacIntyre for a few years. I got to admit, she's a Facebook friend, and we share a lot of. She shares a lot of pictures and a lot of updates for her other friends on Facebook. And I've always marveled at how busy you are and how you do a wonderful job with your business life, and you're running and putting together all these events and being a part of the Boston Marathon. But one day I saw her post a Facebook picture of a staircase. Remember that? And she indicated that she was about the next day to paint with, I think it was white paint?
It was white paint.
And I was impressed. I said, she even found time to do that, but you keep busy. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, I took a vacation day to do that.
Oh, you did? Well, that's all right. But still, I was impressed. She's at nonstop, and the kids are cute, I might add. They don't ever change, so you got a great family there. Let's take a commercial break. Katie MacIntyre is my guest for the full half hour. We'll talk more about the Boston Marathon. We'll talk about some other things she's working on, and a whole lot more. She's always active on everything. This is Weber This Week on the 19th of June. We'll be back. Acting as a gateway to the Finger Lakes, Del Lago leverages the natural beauty and unique offerings while enhancing tourism in the region. The casino features 2,000 slot machines, 89 gaming tables, including 12 poker tables, portico by Fabio Viviani, a 2,400-person entertainment center, farmers market buffet. The hotel, spa, and banquet facility will open summer 2017. Cayuga Lake National Bank. Visit Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora, a fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. DA Liquor on Bridge Street in Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her team will find the right spirit for you every time. When you stop in, tell Amy the dog sent you. The Gould Hotel welcomes you to come out and enjoy the revitalization of this historic downtown Seneca Falls landmark. Every Wednesday is Ladies' Night with special price drinks and half-priced appetizers. Learn more at thegouldhotel.com. The Omen Theater on William Street in Lyons. See what's playing this week at omentheater.com. Located off New York State Thruway Exit 41, the McGee Diner has earned their reputation as a popular family restaurant, serving country fresh home-cooked meals daily. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and check out their menu at McGeeDiner.com. Seneca Metals is an award-winning company that has earned a reputation of going above and beyond to protect the environment and support their community. As an EPA inspector once said, their operation is head and shoulders above the rest. And the Newark Pilots of the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, a minor league team with a major league ballpark. Season ticket packages available at NewarkPilots.com. And the Wilson Press in Seneca Falls. My good pal Rich Rickey and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Visit them online at wpress.com. Cicino's. Live, laugh, eat well. It's the Italian way. It's also the Cicino's way. Visit one of their 3 locations, Waterloo, Geneva, and now at Del Lago Resort and Casino. Order online for pickup or delivery at Cicinos.com. My buddies from Cicino's, yes, they're out at Del Lago. Remember the food court? Food is outstanding as it is in Geneva and Waterloo. And by the way, one of our great sponsors, Seneca Metals, just a reminder, they always put on these events, and there's one coming up the end of the week, to be honest with you. It's called Stomp Rocket Build and Launch. Stomp rockets are super fun to make and really cool to launch. It's amazing what kids can do with paper, PVC pipe, and balloons. Come see how far your rocket will fly. All materials will be provided. To register, call 315-539-5624. It's going to be at the Seneca Metals Educational Center, 1977 State Route 414 in Seneca Falls. The date, it's scheduled for this coming Saturday, June 24th from 3 to 4 o'clock. There is a rain date. You never know with the weather. Rain date is Thursday, June 29th, 6:30 to 7:30. It's free, no charge. It is a family affair. So that's some interesting stuff. Speaking of Seneca Metals, we are expecting to have Kyle Black and Mark Benjamin as my guests next week on the show. Obviously, a lot to talk about, what's going on between the town and Seneca Metals, et cetera, et cetera. So check us out next week. Kyle Black, Mark Benjamin, my special guest from Seneca Metals, coming on. And, Katie, we talked during the break about DARE, and I know the Generations Bank has been involved. Talk a little bit about your involvement, because there's a tie-in coming up the end of July. We're going to have my friend Frank Eldridge Jr., who is a school resource officer out in Romulus, but he took it upon himself to understand what it's all about, to put it digitally, make presentations to the kids. And I understand he's the only officer in the state of New York, police officer, that has done this, and he's going to be honored, I believe, by the head operation in California. May send him into Dallas, Texas to get some sort of an award and make a presentation. So talk about that tie-in with what you're doing at the bank as far as DARE goes.
Well, congratulations to him. That sounds like a great honor. So Generations Bank has been working with DARE for many, many years, well before I joined the organization. But one of the things that we've done most recently, we're entering in our 3rd year of a 5-year commitment to buy all of their workbooks, all the materials needed for every 5th grader in our footprint. So we order those materials through the New York State DARE Officers Association, and they ship them to Generations Bank headquarters, and then all of the schools come and pick those materials up. And it just leverages the dollars so that we can buy more and reach more students.
That's great.
Yeah, and then also we are the sponsor for their statewide training. So they have a speaker that comes in every year. So that's in October, and we'll do that again as well.
That's great. Well, it's a great program, and certainly looking forward to having my buddy come in the end of July talking about what he's done as far as rolling it out. And again, it's pretty amazing from what Tim Luce, who's obviously the Seneca County Sheriff, indicating he is the first and only one so far in New York State to take it upon themselves as a police officer to get involved. So I'm pretty impressed with that. So you really did a lot for that. Katie has been talking, if you missed the beginning of the show, talking about her experience when she went to Boston to do the Boston Marathon. Spent quite a few days there, had a great time. The anticipation was real, and your reflections on a scale of 1 to 10 obviously has got to be close to a 10, right? For what your experience was.
I'd give it a 10.
I bet you would. And it's and of course, you've been with Catherine Switzer. She came to Seneca Falls to do your race, the race, the Right to Run. She's also been a good friend of yours, and you've been able to go around the area where she's been speaking. A special woman, very special woman, and I know that you've met a lot of people that makes a difference, but she's certainly got to be on the top of the list as well.
Definitely, and she's so down to earth and humble. I'm just impressed with what she continues to do. She was just at the Senior Games, so the National Senior Games in Birmingham, Alabama, and she did a video while running the race. It's just impressive. And there was a woman there who was 100 who ran.
100?
Yeah. I think, she has a new partnership with Humana out of Louisville, Kentucky, and they are really promoting active aging. And I think you see it. I mean, you see it around our communities too, like people of all ages. And we're lucky where we live. It's really easy to get out in nature or in our towns and cities and be active. But it's important. We have one life, one body. We've got to take care of it. So, being active, I think we've all heard our doctor say a little more exercise would be good. So even going for a walk is a great thing to do.
Well, I think they've seen Katie MacIntyre on the show several times. They get to know you quite well with all the things you're involved in. What does Katie MacIntyre and your family do when you have some free time? Take a walk, go in the woods? What do you people like to do when you have, I know it's hard to imagine you having free time just to do anything you want to do because you're so busy, but what do you do if you have a morning or an afternoon or a complete day just to do something with the family? What do you like to do as a family?
So we definitely like to walk.
Okay.
We live really close to where Harriet Tubman and William Seward are buried in Auburn. So we walk through Fort Hill Cemetery all the time. Sometimes my kids have their bikes or their scooters, but I walk every day.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a couple of times a day. We have a husky, so it's easy. I think dogs are a good way to help you get out and run and walk. My mom just ran a 5K with her dog last weekend. So I was telling you about how you can pass the bug on to other people. So that's fun for me because I can say, well, I've inspired other people to run and to do things. And people like medals. Like, look how good you look in that medal. Doesn't that feel good?
Yeah, it does feel good.
Like, run a half marathon. They'll give you a medal.
I worked for Jimmy for 5.5 years. He's never given me a medal. Jimmy, maybe you can go to Walmart and pick me one up later? Okay. He's just looking over.
Yeah.
Hey, well, it's interesting because I was anxious for you to come on because I knew that you were the build-up to go to Boston was off the charts. And I remember when you and Mensa came in a few times to promote it and talk about your involvement, let alone your race that you and Generations Bank and you get so involved in, which is great. But I knew the anticipation to do the marathon was, once in a lifetime experience. And I couldn't wait to get you back on today to find out your reflections. 30,000 runners. 30,000, you said?
Right, so 30,000 stories, right?
It's pretty amazing. Everybody will have a story, and
and there were cool things. I think the oldest person to finish Boston this year was 85, and she's done many marathons. Kathy Troisi, who I mentioned, she's done 389 marathons. She's 71. Like, that's a role model. That to me is an amazing accomplishment, and it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of time. And a lot of friends, because fundraising is tough and you need to ask people. And sometimes I'm sure people are like, oh gosh, don't ask me again to support your Boston Marathon. But,
I know.
I'm blessed that people were so generous and so interested and wanted to help support it. And we did fundraisers and all kinds of fun things. So it was really awesome.
But you mentioned, too, the crowd that swarmed the streets and swarmed the sidewalks and et cetera, et cetera. Nothing like it to root you on.
Absolutely. So especially you hear about places along the course like Heartbreak Hill. So it's tough. But people had really funny posters. Some of them were a little bit politically charged and funny, but all kinds of different posters. And people just were vocal and cheering. And there was a water stop where everyone was on a trampoline. So there must have been a half a mile of people jumping on trampolines, giving out water and Gatorade. And people were making it fun. It was really cool. Nothing I've ever seen. That's
pretty amazing. Well, listen, I know you're in talking about the marathon. I know you're in talking about your own race in May, but just a quick question on Generations Bank. I saw an announcement being made that you guys are considering or underway to, issuing credit cards.
Yes, we are. We made the decision. We have credit cards. It's a new product we're offering, and a couple of different credit cards. So depending on what your need is,
right?
We have credit cards that offer 12 months at no interest if you want to pay down a debt. We have ones that do great rewards, Visa and American Express.
Well, my friend Menzo, I understand from the rumor trail that he was always against bringing credit cards into that bank, but somebody must have convinced him. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, we did a lot of research to find the right partner and the right company to work with, and to also make sure that there are ways that it would help people make good financial decisions. So
good move.
Yeah, we're happy about it.
Well, I know.
And you can apply online.
There you go. Almost anything in this world you can apply online, pretty much.
It's quick.
Well, listen, as we wrap up with a couple of minutes to go, any thoughts that you want to pass on to our viewers regarding your experience in Boston or your experiences, just the build-up, and would you recommend somebody who is maybe as avid as you are to consider maybe going that route, maybe taking on a big race like that, or to a certain degree, obviously?
Yeah, I think not even just about races, but
Right.
in general, I believe it's very important to open our hearts, open our eyes, open our minds, dream big, and do things that kind of scare you. It's important. It's how we grow. So, I mean, Boston was big. And I know I mentioned to you a couple of times, like fundraising was a lot easier than training, but getting up at 4:30 on a January morning when it's snowing is hard. But like that's the kind of thing that it's you prove to yourself how much you're capable of, and
you test yourself.
And it doesn't have to be Boston. It could be
Anywhere.
It could be anything. I'm going to walk 3 times a week, and grab a buddy and go for a walk. There's beautiful places all around the area to put one foot in front of the other.
Well, I consider you a very close friend. I wish you nothing but the best. So we hope you come back on down the road talking about anything you'd like to talk about. You're always welcome on the Weber Show, and continued success to you, and I wish you and the family very well.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. All right, folks, let me run down the list that we got coming up here. Next week, of course, we'll have the Seneca Metals guys, Kyle Black and Mark Benjamin, coming on the Weber Show. And then we're off on July 3rd. That's a Monday, obviously. And then on the 10th, we're going to bring in Melissa. How do you pronounce Melissa's last name?
Killerly?
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 Well, I always got, when I asked her to come on my show, I called her. I said, I'm going to butcher that name 50 times when you appear on my show. She made it sound like it was pretty easy, so we'll do it. But anyways, that Melissa girl that's on Finger Lakes 1 will be my guest on the 10th of July. And then, of course, on the 17th, we'll bring in Greg Lazaro along with Sweet Lou Ferrara. Of course, they got a lot to talk about with what's going on in the town. And then, of course, on the 24th of July, a special show. The Child Advocacy Center in Waterloo has just opened up. Angela Davoli, along with Megan Peter, the Assistant District Attorney, along with Tim Luce, will be in the studios. That is a wonderful thing for kids that need help, and I think it's outstanding that it's in downtown Waterloo. They will all be here on the 24th. Then on the 31st, we'll have Frank Eldridge Jr. come in to talk about his involvement and his ability with the DARE program. So, speaking for my good friend Katie MacIntyre, along with Jim Senecropi, this is the dog bidding you a farewell, and enjoy the week, everybody.